Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of the season finale of Rick and Morty Field of Dreams. And I actually really enjoyed this one. This was a pretty interesting one to kind of delve into Rick and Morty's dynamic, while also his dynamic with the rest of the family through kind of an interesting kind of set up in the beginning and the end, because we start off and we see Rick and Morty are at an estate sale where pretty much their universe's entire Rick and family have died. So we've got the estate sale dude being like, put a post-it note on it if you want it. We see that Rick is really into this like spinning anti-grav thing where Morty strikes up pretty much a conversation with this sunglasses Morty. You know, oh yeah, going to your own funeral is actually pretty fun and interesting, so you should do that sometime, as we see a Portal Junior gun, and Morty's like, alright, cool, I'll check this out. We see that he kind of goes, and that the sunglasses are literally his eyes. It's like, okay. So we see that Rick is attempting to showcase off this whole thing. Is like he bought a motorcycle just to pretty much roll around on the damn thing, and Morty's just like, I'm fucking done with this. So he decides to use the Portal Junior and starts going around, and we see some funny montages pretty much of what's kind of going on. Him kind of trying to get the emotional kind of gratification from his family, that these families grieving for their dead Morty, that he really hasn't gotten from his family. So we see him just pretty much like sitting around seeing all the different kind of stuff that kind of goes on with these different Mortys. Long Legs Morty, one where they like are Frankenstein kind of creatures and chopping off the pieces to kind of give out to the family. One where they blow them up like a balloon and the corpse floats in the sky. It's like they really did some interesting kind of stuff of different universes and how they kind of utilize death. So that was a very creative aspect that I really kind of enjoyed seeing. But Morty then it starts getting into the kind of crux of what's going on, of where we get the kind of conflict out of this, because Rick's just doing his own thing. He doesn't give a shit about Morty at this point. We haven't really checked in on him, but Morty goes to one for this funeral of Mort, and he was like this football player, mountain climber motherfucker, and we see the family grieving, and the dog runs to Morty. It's like, oh, hey, and pretty much gives them the lowdown of what kind of goes on Infinite, Smith families, Morty's, Rick's, and all that kind of stuff, wondering where their Rick's at. Well, Jerry kicking him out. It's like, all right, and Jerry is really broken up about his Mort dying, and kind of is happy that we've got Morty there. Let's see. So at first he kind of leaves them, but then gets back into the whole kind of dysfunction of his normal kind of family, and then just spends more time over with them, and they're all kind of happy about it. They're like, they get a second kind of chance. He goes to this cabin trip with this Jerry, and he's it's like not needlessly, just like very much obsessed with him. It was kind of obsessed with Mort as well, trying to make him strong and make sure that he would like be protected and live forever. And we see that this led to problems with his Mort, as Morty is able to kind of get away. However, his Portal Junior gun is destroyed. He's like, ha! It's like, fuck. As we see that he's able to get into hideaway kind of bits from Mort. It's like, fuck this dude. He was just as obsessed with Mort and pushing him to do all these things that he didn't want to do. So he's able to go into a library, sneaking away from Jerry, find out where sober Rick is, and finds him as pretty much being a professor at MIT. He's got a nice job. He's actually a well-adjusted human. But then we see that he's also remarried to someone else. He brings the whole kind of Diane situation up to him about what kind of went on with that, but then has to get him to kind of help him try to make a portal gun. His wife Uli pretty much blaming Morty as being the kind of mind virus that kind of gets Rick back into his kind of crazy bit, as he's trying to create these portal guns to get him back home. However, Morty does need to escape from these motherfuckers, because they're crazy as shit. So we see Rick's descent into madness as he gets back into the alcohol. He's making all these portals that have weird kind of effects but don't really take anybody home. So that was another kind of creative aspect as we see that Jerry is able to get on his trail and gets there with Summer and Beth as everything culminates with pretty much Rick weaponizing the portal gun that sucks things in and then spits them out inside out. We see that with a cat and everything like that. But they also have a fish kind of thing that gets onto Jerry and pretty much is spurting fish and kills him. We see Summer gets blown in half, and this completely freaks Beth out, and she kills herself. And we're like, okay, what's going to go on here? New estate sale. They also have a gun that makes people into long-necked dogs. That becomes important because his Rick pops up, kind of wants it. Then we see Sunglasses, Morty and Rick, and he turns them both into long-necked dogs. He's like, just take me the fuck back home, please. Just take me back home. He's really kind of traumatized of what's kind of going on, this whole kind of bit. And then they just kind of get back home, and Rick and Morty ride on Rick's motorcycle, pretty much saying that they're like father and son as they kind of like drive off. And Morty's actually happy. He's like, yeah, we're kind of dysfunctional, but holy fucking shit. I mean, that's not to say that I don't think this is showcasing that you just stay with someone that's abusive or whatnot, but just to be like, okay, you need to know what your actual level is at on a certain kind of thing, because Rick and Morty have gotten better and worse over the seasons, but we're at a kind of good spot here, as we then see in the stinger of Mr. Poopy Butthole being utilized in a multi-dimensional thing to try and find his one wife's actual Mr. Poopy Butthole, and it kind of like explodes out, and it's like, okay, what the fuck happened there? So, I overall enjoyed this because I liked looking into how Morty doesn't really feel appreciated by his family, and that they're kind of a bunch of assholes to each other. And seeing the funeral kind of bit is like really kind of fucked up, but interesting to see the different kind of Smith family dynamics and how they kind of grieve their Mortys, especially throughout the different kind of multiverse kind of effect. And then seeing how, oh, it looked good throughout this whole kind of thing, but then getting into actual family dynamics completely changes the game, as the father is pretty much trying to completely not only control his ass and keep him there, and it's just like, holy fucking shit. And it was also kind of funny to see Jerry and the rest of the family kind of shaking down this MIT person to kind of get Rick's information to get to his house. Summer hacking in and be like, yeah, I'm going to put myself in here just in case I want to go to this school. It's like, it's interesting seeing Jerry in a dynamic where he's a complete asshole. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, our Jerry is like an ineffectual asshole and is like going on about his kind of fedora and shit like that. But at least he's not this motherfucker that is just cold, calculating, almost Rickish to a degree. But if you put him up against an actual Rick, I don't think he'd actually make it out on top. He'd at least make that Rick a little bit unnerved, but he'd just be like, fuck you. So this was a nice one to end out the season. It's like, oh, okay, this had a nice kind of balance. It wasn't really laugh out loud, but some of the situations are like, what the fuck's kind of going on here? As we escalate and then get back. I like that it was one story that maybe had little bits that interconnected back in, kind of with the estate sale and everything, but not that it needed a complete B plot or anything to go on for it. This was Morty's journey throughout this and learning about himself and his relationship with Rick, which was pretty nice. I like those kind of episodes when that's explored. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.